In today's video, we're going to cover how to make this mini quilt hanging. This one obviously has a pumpkin on it, but this process is going to cover how to assemble these in the hoop. So this video will also cover any other hanging like this going forward because it's not going to be specific just to the pumpkin. This one I will talk about the pumpkin, but if you're here watching this video for a different hanging like this, you will just get your color change chart, stitch order chart that's included with the file, and follow along with that for the steps on what you're going to put in the center here. If you're new here, hi, my name is Dawn. I'm the founder, owner, and designer of Creative Appliques. Thank you for joining me on my channel today. If you haven't subscribed, please click that subscribe button and right next to it the bell to be notified when I upload new content. Also, if you would give me a thumbs up and like this video, it really helps my channel to grow. And if you're already a subscriber, thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate you, and I'm ever so grateful to have you here. So let's get into how to assemble this mini quilt hanging. Let's start with the supplies we're going to need. You're going to need some stabilizer. I like to use a medium cutaway stabilizer like this. You can also use a poly mesh. This is going to give you less structure. If you want more structure in it, a medium cutaway might be better than the mesh. You're going to need your fabrics, so something for the back and for the front background, 2 pieces for the pumpkin, and then the piece for the stem. You're going to want to have some good applique scissors, your embroidery thread, a rotary cutter to trim it up at the end, a quilting ruler, some batting, or even some bag making foam or sew-in foam. Your choice on that. An iron and some Heat and Bond light or other iron-on adhesive for the back side of the applique pieces. So I have my stabilizer hooped, and now I'm going to go to the machine and stitch the placement stitch for the batting. We have stitched the placement stitch for the hanging, and now we will place the batting. So I also like to use sometimes 2 layers of batting. It gives it a nice loftier, puffier look. And so I'm going to use 2 layers of batting. So the next thing to stitch is going to be the tack down for the batting. Now we're going to trim up the batting. You don't have to do this step if you don't want, but I prefer to do it so that it doesn't create so much bulk in my seam. Now that I've trimmed up the batting, I'm going to place my backing fabric, or the back of the front, the main body of the hanging, and I will tack this down, and also the quilting is going to stitch at this step too. So I have stitched the quilting, the tack down for the front piece, and then the quilting has stitched. So you want to make sure that before you do that, you put the thread in that you want to use for your quilting. So if you want it to stand out, you'll do something contrasting. If you want it to blend in, obviously something that's kind of tone on tone or matching. So it did not stitch where the pumpkin is, and that's on purpose to give the pumpkin a little bit of extra loft and height. So I also stitched then the tack down placement for the stem. Now I have my stem fabric here treated with some Heat and Bond light, and I'm going to place that on there and then tack that down. The tack down stitched for the stem, and now I will trim it close to the stitching. Now it will stitch the placement stitching for the 2 outside pieces of the pumpkin. So the placement stitching has stitched for the 2 outside pieces of the pumpkin. Now I have my fabric already prepped with the Heat and Bond light on the back, and I'm going to place it so it's covering all of the stitching, and then I will tack this down. The pumpkin outsides have been tacked down. Now trim close to the stitching. The next thing to stitch is going to be the placement for the inner circle. I'll place the fabric on top of that and then stitch the tack down for that. The placement stitched, I put the fabric down and the tack down stitched. Now I will trim it. The next thing to stitch is going to be the tendril and the leaf. So I'm going to change my thread to the green color that I want for that, and those are going to stitch. The next thing to stitch after that is going to be the stem, and so I'm going to leave the color the same and I'm going to stitch that as well. So for the hanger piece, I have it cut to the size I need, and I'm going to flip it right side down. I'm going to take the Steam Seam 2 and I'm going to press it in here, get it a little bit of heat activated with my fingers, and then I'm going to remove the tape, and then I'm going to fold it in a little bit and then finger press it, and then I will go to the iron. So this side I'm just going to leave that on there because it'll be fine. So I will press these seams down here, and then I will fold it in half like this, so the wrong sides are together, and press it like that. So the pumpkin is now complete. The next thing is we're going to take the hanger part, and this is the fold here, and this is the raw edge. So we're going to take it and just center it between the sides here and place it. I'm going to move it down a little bit because it's going to stitch right on this line to tack it down. So I want to make sure I have enough here that when I flip it, it's going to have enough area to hang. So now we will tack this down. So that is the hanger sleeve part. Now we are going to take the two pieces for the back. So these are going to be right side down. So the piece that's going to go on the right side has the fold, and I also put the Steam Seam light on there, and I'm leaving the paper on. I don't take the paper off until after we flip it. So this is going to be right side down with the fold here on the left, and now this piece is just going to go right side down. I want to make sure I'm covering all the stitching, and that this edge here is not bumped up right here. It needs to be overlapping because it's going to make that envelope type of back. And so now what's going to happen is the machine is going to stitch. It's important that they're put down in this order, in this direction, because the machine is going to stitch from the left here, go over to the right, and then come back to the left and go around. So your presser foot isn't going to get caught on these pieces of fabric. So the design is finished stitching. We'll now remove it from the hoop, and we will clean it up. So it's easier for me to see from the back with the stitching. And so I just take my ruler and I place it about 1/4 of an inch away from the stitch lines and just trim. I like these Sew Tight rulers because they've got magnets in them, and this is a Sew Tight mat, so it has a metal piece in here to be able to have the magnet, so there's a lot less slipping on it. Also, all the blue parts that are on the ruler also have a little bit of like grippy stuff on them, so that also helps prevent sliding. Now I like to cut across on the corners to make sure that I get it, a nice corner. And now we will turn it right side out. So we go through here, and I like to put my finger and thumb in the corners. It helps me to push it out on all 4 corners. There we go. So as I've turned it, I like to take my finger and my thumb and I kind of go like this to kind of roll the seam so that I don't have so much, I don't have the back showing through. But I also like to take my point turner here from OESD and really get into those corners. So if you can see that corner there, and when I poke it out, it really looks nice and has a nice corner to it instead of being rounded. And there's two sides to this. I'm using the thicker ball. There's also a thinner one there. So again, just rolling. So I do this sides first. Both sides, so I get it nice, flush. Also do the top. Now on the back side, we are going to take the steam seam here. I'm going to just use my fingers a bit to try to get the heat activated so I can remove the paper easier. Maybe it's not wanting to stay. Actually, I'm going to leave the paper on it for a second and I'm going to press it to really get it ironed onto the fabric. Now the paper's still on there. So now let it cool for a second. When I'm on the back side too, I kind of like to pull towards me to really make sure I have that back just on the back side. Right now that this is cooled a bit, I'm going to remove the paper. There we go. And now I like to push this side in and really get a nice overlap on this so I don't have a lot of the back showing on the other side. And there you go. There is our completed pumpkin hanging. So I hope you enjoyed this video today. Thanks so much for joining me today. Please come join us in the Creative Appliques Embroidery Facebook group. And you can find me on all the major platforms, Pinterest, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube, all as Creative Appliques. If you haven't already subscribed, please click that subscribe button and right next to it, the bell to be notified when I upload new content. And also, if you would please give the video a thumbs up, it really helps me to grow my channel and help me to make more videos and get the word out there. So until I say see you next time, guys, make your life creative. Bye for now.